of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We go live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. We've got some people joining in on the panel tonight. We've got Gary jumping in from Kansas. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for the invite.
Doug's jumping in from Nebraska. Nebraska? How about Nevada?
Yeah.
It had an M in it.
That's too cold for me. Thanks for having me.
I got a Patriot coming in from, let's see, Michigan.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the invite.
I'm going to jump over to Potatoes, also from Michigan. Those people like to band together.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Thanks for the invite.
It's because of the mittens. They like to have that like thread that goes from one end to the other. Then we got Woods jumping in from the state of Washington, the Pacific Northwest, sometimes called.
Thanks for the invite.
You bet. Thanks for joining in. And then we got Snob jumping in from Tulsa.
Close, but thanks for the invite.
Whatever. And then I'm down here in Tucson. So, I mean, nobody's actually in any of those cities. I guess I could have just said Oklahoma. But anyway, today is Wednesday. We talk about entertainment. I guess we could go look at the hashtag today. And there's no other agenda, so we'll just talk about whatever. Off here, we were talking about weather. That sounds kind of boring, but I'm sure we can come up with some topics. We had come up with some the other day, but is there anything on you guys' minds to chat about? And that's not a mute button. This is the mute button.
How bad Michigan got bent over by Democrats?
We got bent over worse.
Not as bad as Washington.
We got bent over worse.
All right, well, you guys can have a political chat somewhere else or in a lobby, but as far as gun stuff, the only thing I know is in Michigan. The hell is going off my head today? In Washington. Yep. So yeah, you guys got bent over with gun stuff, but you're talking just in general. Is that going to have repercussions in Michigan for gun stuff?
I believe so. Our new governor is extremely violently anti-gun.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Somebody who's been the governor before or new to this game?
She's new, I think. I don't know what office she's held, but anything that I've read about her is it's bad as far as guns.
Yeah, I just inherited a violent anti-gunner in my state, so the war is on for us. But we came here to talk about other stuff, right?
No, we're talking about guns. So, what happened in Nevada?
So we lost our Republican and we gained a Democrat, Jackie Rosen, who basically votes with Pelosi, and she's heavily anti-gun.
Are you talking Senate then?
Yeah, as well as we lost everything. We lost the governorship, we lost the Senate, the full bit.
Everything went Democrat in Nevada?
Pretty much.
Yeah, then you're fucked because they already did the ballot initiative successfully before, and it was just your attorney general who was like, I can't make this happen. The feds won't let me, and even if I wanted to, it would be illegal.
Yeah, we got bent over because of Vegas and Reno.
Well, yeah, of course, but that's every city. I mean, it's every state. It's not like that. It's new to the dynamic, and it's ever going away. I mean, that's just the way it is. But that's, I'm just saying, as far as guns go, you've got a situation now where they can rewrite that or, do attempt number 2. And obviously you got a lot more, whatever, probably advantage there. That sucks.
In less gloomy news, Oklahoma got a new Republican governor who hopefully will sign constitutional carry when it goes back before them.
Was yours the state that everything was good to go, but you guys knew your governor would say no and you didn't even bring it to him?
No, it went to the governor and it sat on her desk and she ended up vetoing it, and she was a Republican governor, but that didn't mean much. She was worthless anyways.
I don't know. What do you guys think about the idea that was a midterm that was potentially a really important one, right? There was a lot of concern that if it did have this blue turn, or I hate to call it that because blue's a cool color, but turn towards the big state parties, then that would have indicated that everybody was completely dissatisfied, and that that we can expect a turn from Republican to Democrat next elections, presidential election cycle. I don't think there's anybody that would suggest that's what happened, though. But the idea that there was only one out of all of the ballot initiatives and all the states, 2 or 3 states changed their marijuana things this time around. States did stuff on healthcare and on victim something or another, some like victim
Sexual assault victim rights. Yeah.
No, it was something else. There was some sort of victim rights for something called Marsy's Law or something like that. That was
Yeah.
like 3
Yeah,
or
that
4
was-
states. That wasn't really guns, but it was like kind of close. But anyway, the only thing that was even close to being guns, really, or the only thing that was actually guns, was that one thing in Washington State. So is that something that there's something to interpret from that? And then, I don't know, is there any other questions that stem from that? Come on.
I really don't know what the Marcy's Law thing was. I kind of heard about it, but didn't really know much about it.
Well, and I believe that had to do with the sexual assault victims, their accusers in court, because in our state, that up until now, accusers for those cases were not in the courtroom upon the sentencing of the perpetrator.
No, it
So-
says according to the internet, right? So came from California. It's a victims' rights law enacted, blah blah blah. Idea is that instead of having to be represented by the district attorney, so like somebody hurts you or something and you're the victim, you don't. It's not like a public defender where you get somebody defending you. You're now trying to prosecute someone for criminal or civil, whatever. So instead of having to deal with the district attorney who might have political, agenda or
Mhm.
political motives, the victim can hire their own attorney. I'm pretty sure that's all it is. It protects and expands the rights of the victim to include 17 rights in the judicial process, including the right to protection from a whole bunch of stuff, protection from the notification of court proceedings and restitution, as well as granted patrol. So this is a more in-depth thing. When you just go to plain old Google and ask for what Marsy's Law, and it says to allow the victims
Yeah.
to be represented by the counsel of their choosing, rather than relying on a prosecutor who has a legal obligation to represent the people in their jurisdiction, not necessarily the victim. So I guess victims have had some kind of loophole there where the prosecutor's there to, represent the city or the state or whatever it happens to be, but the victim is just the pawn. And this way the victim can have representation there, making sure that they don't just remain a victim again in court.
Yep.
So anyway, a couple of states did that. Like I said, it's hardly guns though. It's just a, change in a situation where people are getting, I guess, kind of stuck in a loop there. But I don't know. I don't think we should. I think we run into a problem where, as the Second Amendment community or Second Amendment advocates or whatever we're called, we go, oh, okay, we don't have to worry about nothing for 2 more years. Now let's go buy guns, or let's just go shooting, or let's flake off, and then we get all worried about it after it's time to actually do anything. Like isn't this like right now? Isn't this the perfect time to start a campaign against the 4473 to bring back the Hearing Protection Act, to get rid of the requirement for CCW at all? Have constitutional carry in every state. Start pushing for this stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is.
The
So how
thing
do
with
we- Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say with Michigan, there's also one of the initiatives, the ballot initiatives, was to redistrict. And so they're going to change it from having a lot of more weight out in the rural areas to push it towards the cities like everybody else. And so it's going to kind of change, the dynamics. And they got the other thing as far as, the ballots where you can, day of voting, you can register. So you can just show up and register. You can absentee ballot, anytime you want, kind of thing. And plus with the governor being the way it is, it's we're behind the ball, I think, right now. So it's not a time to sit for sure.
Well, so I'm going to do what I can to try to bring more people onto the show, because we're just sitting here chatting about stuff without having, much more to do than just chat about it, hash it out. Who's making all that noise? Woods. In the
Sorry,
Pacific
man.
Northwest, they don't mute so much. It's not their custom.
It's like a cash register.
Sorry, I didn't know y'all could hear that.
He set the phone down on a pinball machine and then started playing the pinball game.
Well, and then up here, I had a bunch of discussions with a lot of my friends that, of course, whenever we lose one of these things, everybody wants to move out of the state. And I kept telling them, so you're just going to fucking leave the state and not fight at all? What the fuck is that? Like, we're all just going to move to one state whenever it doesn't go our way? That's fucking wrong. No. I do like the fact that the Second Amendment Foundation is already on a lawsuit to try to overturn it, because the initiative had like 6 things that it was going for, and initiatives usually are only one thing. So hopefully we can get this state Supreme Court to at least take a look at it. But, I guess the legal part's going to be the next thing, because we just can't let shit like this sit.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm sorry, were you finished?
I just was going to say, I was glad that the Second Amendment Foundation is based in Bellevue, Washington. So maybe I can get hold of them and try to help personally in some way. I don't know what the hell I can do, but I'm certainly going to reach out to them.
Well, here's the thing. So we had one thing at all, period. And you guys in Washington had to fight it yourselves. Even in California, they didn't have nothing. All that hype and commotion. Help California out. There's 7 million gun owners here, and we can't sign the ballot things fast enough because they divided it into 11 things. And I'm not talking shit. I mean, that's difficult. The antis, people that want to see our rights restricted, figured out ways to screw with us, to make it difficult, make it tedious, and to make it complex, so that people, frustrated and lazy, decided not to do it. Apathetic, whatever you want to call it, weren't able to do it, even with a lot of effort, tremendous effort, bringing, what was it, like 11 different petitions had to show up at the different gun shops in California to be signed by human beings, and then gathered and accumulated and brought to the correct place at the correct time. Having enough signatures that they can dismiss whatever the percentage is or whatever that they'll question. So, I mean, California had some tough stuff, but they didn't have nothing to do this time as far as guns go. So that means all that machine, all the stuff, all those people that worked, that efforted towards that, and looked around and looked over their shoulders and said, who's going to, be aware of this? Who's helping us? Is there any other support? And then some of us out here in the rest of the country either did or laughed at them or whatever, somewhere in between. Well, I'm saying, why didn't any of that machine get focused on the one freaking ballot initiative? I mean, I'm dropping the ball too here. I'm going to fucking bill every second matters so that we could stop this kind of shit. I'm going to continue to work towards trying to figure out ways so that we don't get blindsided with this. But this, it seems to me like a massive failure for us, an embarrassment that only one ballot initiative was out there. We had the resources of 49 other states, and all the Second Amendment advocates and what the hell? What did you call them, Gary? Advocates and activists. Like, we should have been more on top of that. And I'm not, aside from pointing us all out as a community or pointing a finger at all of us, like, is this the time to start building stuff so that never happens again? Because that seems like a no-brainer. We should have wailed on that. It should have been 60-40 the other way around. What an opportunity to educate up there. And you would have had the resources, the entire country, all those social media platforms. I kind of think it's a disgrace that we let them get one anti-gun thing through this whole midterm.
I mean, no, to be honest, though, I mean, all you heard about, even on, Pro 2A new media stuff, YouTubes and stuff, is, you know, the blue wave kind of stuff, preventing that. You didn't hear, other than a, you know, few sources, you didn't hear a whole lot about 1639. You heard some, but not as nearly as much as should have been.
I certainly heard a lot about fucking new calibers and what shoots a pig and new night vision scopes and shit like this for the last however many weeks. I saw Sporting Systems putting a lot of time and effort and money and attention into it. Time they could have spent just selling guns in their store instead. Had time printing stuff, putting hands on the, what do they call it, feet on the ground, and sticking signs in the ground. After those signs got kicked down, going back and re-putting them up. I don't get a dime from Sporting Systems, but I have a mad respect for that shit. But they were out there almost doing it by themselves, right? Yankee helped a little bit. I'm not saying, you know, that these states shouldn't be able to deal with shit, but on the same thing, I think we should be able to be aware of shit like that and put our efforts behind it. If nothing else, is practice for when it happens to more critical stuff. When it happens in Vegas, come on, we're screwed. When they start messing with Vegas, that's all of that Vegas firearms tourism.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it's got to serve as a learning experience for everyone in the country, you know, that's Pro 2A. You know, we screwed up and we got to do more next time whenever it's another state.
Yeah, we kind of took one on the chin, I think.
Yep.
One thing I question is I might be wrong in that the direct ballot initiatives where people get enough signatures and it goes right to a ballot, is that because that's how they got that through. And they were doing shady shit when they were getting it signed, and that even got sued. I believe it was Second Amendment Foundation. Again, it might have been GOA. I don't remember. I know the NRA took credit, but they didn't do shit. But then one of the state court guys said, no, the people should just read what they put down. People were literally lying about what it said and getting signatures, and those signatures still stood. So I'm having a problem with direct initiatives myself.
Well, they're definitely exploiting that, but I don't know if getting away with or removing them is the way to do it. Then the terrorists win.
Yeah, but I thought, I just thought the way whenever the lawsuit, I thought what I read was something about you couldn't sue it because it hadn't taken effect yet, you know, on those grounds. I thought that's why it was dismissed. I don't know. I'm not from Washington, so I really don't know.
That was part of it too. But in the final decision, basically the judge said people should read the back of the initiative. They also didn't say how it was going to be changed, how it was going to be different than current law, which is required in Washington state. There was a whole bunch of like legal problems, but they still kicked it on the initiative. So I'm wondering the value of initiatives, and should initiatives just go to then the legislature who votes on it?
I don't know. I don't know that much about all that. I mean, I know, you know, the direct initiative is how Oklahoma got medical marijuana and stuff, but that's really the first time I ever had any real dealings with it, seeing it anywhere or anything.
Direct initiatives aren't something that I would want to outright ban, because if we could, I'm trying to find the right way to phrase this. If we could organize, we could actually use those same initiatives in our favor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I wouldn't.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to take those tools away, because those are some of the best political tools that, as the people, we have to make sure we get stuff on ballots, and we don't always have to go through some politician who we may or may not trust.
Yeah, a politician who writes 18 other things into the bill along with that nobody else will vote for. Or if it was just one thing, they might have.
Yeah, I didn't. The whole time before this, I didn't hear anything about that. I mean, from, you know, emails or anything that besides like what I heard Yankee say. I mean, I don't know if that's, you know, a lack on my part for searching stuff out, but you know, I like the GOA. I didn't see anything from them. I mean, they probably had it. I just didn't get it. I wonder if there's a better way of spreading that around.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything in the world that, somebody's in charge, except for Santa Claus spreading out presents? I don't think anybody's responsible for spreading out anything efficiently. And it's us as a culture, as firearms culture, right? As advocates or activists, or whatever you want to call each other, and then people that are just, I don't know, paying attention to politics, even to pay attention to this stuff, right, and to spread the word.
Well, I'm assuming that in Washington State, surely NRA, GOA, Second Amendment, all of them sent out emails and tried to get the word out a lot more in the actual state where they actually voted on it. But I don't know, Woods, did they?
I remember getting something from the Second Amendment Foundation, but that was about it. But then what about all the money for, I saw anti-gun ads, I saw billboards, I saw all kinds of shit that was for 1639, but I didn't see hardly anything or any money spent the other way. I mean, shit, the owner of the Seahawks, of course he died, but he gave $1 million to the fucking deal. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a little bitter today. But, we're going to keep fighting,
I'm guessing if we have tons of millionaires and billionaires on, the Second Amendment side, I guess they just like to hold on to their money and spend it on machine guns or something other than donating it to that stuff.
Now, I brought that up as a topic the other day. Where's our billionaires?
I mean, there's got to be some.
Not here. Not guilty.
I don't know. I don't know if we want to dig into that. There's no agenda today, so we could. But we've looked it up in the past, and when we looked up how big Bloomberg was, whenever this was now, this might have been a couple of years ago. I don't know if anybody out there knows, or if you guys were in the chats when we did this. I forget who looked it up. But first we were playing around. I think it was a lobby chat or something. It's just a general chat, and we were looking up what rank the richest people in the world were. A bunch of them are names nobody heard of. A couple of them are names people have heard of. And Bloomberg was in there somewhere in the top. And the amount he spends on guns, at least that year, which I think is when the first wave of bullshit happened with Washington, with your whole universal background checks. It must have been right after that. And the amount he spent was the equivalent of it was something like $200 for a regular person. And he's got lots more than that. So, like you said, whoever that guy is with the sports, and he gave him a bunch of $1 million. $1 million, and I suspect that guy was, to avoid paying taxes on some interest over here. You know what I mean? These guys are super rich. That's not a lot of money. So these guys, I guess what I'm getting at is, if you guys want to get down that road, I don't think these people are putting their weight into it. They're putting enough money into it to get laid or to make somebody happy. They don't go to church, right? So it's not to make a church happy. So they're trying to impress somebody with it. But maybe keep people employed. I have no idea what their real goals are. It would be neat to see a documentary on it. But I really don't think they're putting their weight into it. So the reason I'm bringing that up is we'd be screwed if they were. They got a lot of money, and the amount of gains they get with this is significant. Or I should say the amount of gains they've got with the amount of resources they put into it so far is significant. If they had just 10 times the amount of resources to put into it, we'd be swamped. So I don't think I guess the reason I'm saying all this, I don't think our best scenario to this, or the way to combat this, is to have our own rich guy. Rich guys die, in this country at least. This theory of rich guy, isn't most rich people or rich families, empires or whatever, 3 generations. People go up and down into rich and right back out. It's just a number of dollars you happen to have for some amount of time. It's not like you reach that rich person goal and now you just have money for the rest of the time. People manage money poorly all the time. So I don't want to depend on some rich guy, and then the markets sway and now he's just some guy when that was our anchor. I think instead we change the paradigm, right? And I keep saying the same thing, preaching the same thing. We as a whole bunch of people pull the rope out underneath Bloomberg, because he can't pay enough people to run around and try to convince their grandparents and their grandchildren and their friends at work and school and church that guns are bad. We are out there able to do that on a consistent basis, and with a little bit of intent and mastery of the tools that are available to us, we can share that in a way that's like having the shotgun on the back of your pickup truck window, times a million. Bloomberg can't combat that with just money, and they could get 6 of the richest people to throw all their money at all of Hollywood, and they can't change people's mind. If we actually change the culture back, the American culture, the culture of this country back to where firearms are respected for what they are in the position they used to have, that they still have, really. I mean, look at our language, our movies, our history, our what do you call it, like innovation in machinery and industries is what I was looking for. All of that has deep roots in guns. It's everything from its history to its like actual manufacturing process to the terminology we use. I mean, guns are this country. Once we're back to where people acknowledge that and aren't afraid of it and appreciate it, then there's no amount of money Bloomberg could spend. So I personally think that's the direction to pursue, rather than, I don't know, try to shame some rich guy because he's not spending enough money in our minds. I've seen people drop 5-digit checks like it ain't shit, and they could be doing that all day long. There could be 1,000 people in line, and they're still not going to cover what Bloomberg can do with one PayPal transaction.
Well, I totally agree with that, but at the same time, I mean, we have to have money on our side to an extent. But at the same time, in 2013, look at what we did, and that wasn't really a money thing that stopped that. That was everybody emailing, writing, calling, their senators or congressmen to stop that.
Perfect example, exactly. I think the more recent one would have been 556, or the
M855.
No, not the 55, the green one, the M855. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
The way that was stopped, nobody could have actually paid to have that stopped as fast as it got stopped. And that was just us flexing our muscles, and they have a memory. So us flexing our muscles and them going, oh, we see the end result of this. They don't want to walk down ambushes and get pie in their face and look bad. They don't want consequences of their shit. They want to do stuff that makes them look good and then has no actual consequence, that they can always just say, remember, oh, we always look good. So if we can. So I don't know. I'm monopolizing the conversation, but we went on a couple of ways there. Now, does anybody want to throw anything out? Any stuff we've been chatting about?
I know for me, it was a call to action that I need to personally double my efforts. That I need to go from that advocate to an activist. I did some things with 1639. I did a couple call centers and things, but you get busy and shit, and you got to realize that I got to do more. Maybe I need to actually start creating content or something, get my voice out there. That I think I've been kind of getting my toe wet, and I think I need to jump the fuck in.
One thing, it's easy for me, where I live in Oklahoma, which is a pro-gun state pretty much. And, we don't really have anything to worry about right now. It's easy for me just to sit back and kind of, say, oh, that's Washington, or that's California, or that's New Jersey, and not, be concerned at all. But, one swing of an election and it could easily be Oklahoma.
Yeah, how quickly things can change.
I know I'm going to do it. Go ahead.
Well, all I was going to say is, in a way, we're fighting for our own home turf, and in a way, we're not. I mean, in a way, we're kind of joined together fighting for each other. We can't just keep our own interest in mind.
So I've just been doing a little Google foo here while we've all been talking about this. And as far as, where are the billionaires who are pro-gun? I can only find 2 brothers who are of note. That would be the Knock brothers. And if we're going to be waiting around for guys like that to spend money, it's not going to work, because even as much money as those 2 have, and they are apparently pretty pro 2A because they contribute a lot to the JPFO and stuff. It's not we're not going to win waiting on that. We have to get everybody motivated and fight from the ground up.
Yeah, it's not a money thing. I mean, it doesn't take, all day putting everything into it. I mean, if everybody puts in stuff, I mean, I do what I can do, but, we can always do more.
I mean, truthfully, there's probably a lot more gun owners that are more, advocates or even activists or advocates, either one. Then there are people that are actually against it. It's just they yell louder. They're the louder voice right now.
I don't think so. I think they have the media pointing at them.
Well,
so
yeah, that's absolutely
louder because that's the only one that they're pointing at. But it's like the Hillary crowd, right? Just a couple of people in the corner of the auditorium.
And that's what I always swear by. I tell everybody, the best way to win is to get our kids involved. I swear to that all the time. And I always try to make that point that, that's how we're going to win this battle. It's not doing anything other than just getting the kids involved so that the next generation and generation after that and generation after that don't think guns are bad, like what you were saying a minute ago.
What about this Jeff Bezos guy, the boss of Amazon? He's the world's first trillionaire, $112 billion. Does anybody go shooting with that guy? We should get him to be pro today.
I'll invite him out this weekend. We'll see what happens.
What I'll start doing is like when I do an Amazon order, I'll be like, "Hey, Jeff,
when you deliver that to my house, we'll shoot a few rounds, have some fun."
So you got Bill Gates is next with 90 billion. He's not even a trillionaire. We got Warren Buffett, which I can't see the number. Is he a gun guy? He seems like he's from like Missouri, right?
He is absolutely
Nebraska, isn't he? He's from Omaha, Nebraska, I believe.
Yeah, he might own a shotgun, but the company I work for is owned by him. But he might own a shotgun, but I don't think so.
Some family, then Zuckerberg. He's the 5th richest person in the world.
Then there's the Koch brothers from Kansas now.
See, imagine if someone had taken Mark Zuckerberg out squirrel hunting when he was a little kid and shooting tin cans. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
I'm saying. All right, well, billionaires.
I'm working on it, dude. I've got hundreds.
If I was a billionaire, I'd still hang with you, huh?
Your daughter told me you were a billionaire, Gizzard.
She thinks I am.
No, I think we win at a grassroots level. I don't think we can compete at a money level. I think we have to win at the grassroots level to win it.
Well, we're stronger when we do it at a grassroots level because that's literally just getting everybody back on track again to where we were when our grandparents were running around. People weren't afraid of guns. If you liked them, you liked them. If you didn't, you didn't. Probably a little bit more open room back then, but get suppressors off the list and get rid of the list. And that's less of an issue. Now people aren't upset from guns going off. All right, well, so anything else to chat about? Anybody else want to chat in or chime in on any of the stuff we've been talking about? Nope. Dead air.
I put all my 2 cents in tonight.
Ozzy says Illinois changed yesterday. Or how they change?
And what did they change to?
Oh, they're pro-gun now?
Really?
I don't think so.
I'll believe that when I see it.
All right. Well,
I'd be interested to find out how those sanctuary counties go, and if that's something we could use here in Washington. But I don't know enough about it. But I definitely need to read more about it. Because I mean, we have another one where King County, where Seattle is, did most of the voting. That's where most of your votes came, because there's way more people in Seattle proper, than all the other places combined. I mean, we're not the only state where one city gets to dictate to the rest of the state what the fuck's going to go on.
So it says, are you kidding me? I got to do a Google quiz before it'll let me read that whole page.
Well, he said Dems took control of everything in Springfield.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about is the sanctuary counties, where the different counties were saying we're not going to obey unjust firearms laws put down by the state. So there is something in the Bloomington Antigraph, but they're making me do a Google thing, so I guess I can't figure it out. But it says as of July, there was 25 sanctuary counties. I think Tony talked about it a little bit this afternoon, but I don't remember what he said. But yeah, there was definitely a couple of them more. 9 of them more, I think he said. 9 more counties on the ballots yesterday.
Yeah, that's what gave me the idea, is talking to Tony in one of the chats earlier in the week, that he had sent something to somebody in his state, and like a week later they were working on it, and Tony said that the politician he was talking to had heard it from a whole bunch of people. So maybe I can start rallying some people in Washington here to come up with something like that.
And I believe he said it was just a paper, kind of like a register or whatever, that they brought up in each county, and it was kind of a cookie cutter thing, and they just put in their information. So I think it was quite simple once you get the gist of it.
Then maybe we could get some of the smaller counties that aren't quite, King, Pearson, Skagit, Snohomish counties that got a lot of people in them. Maybe the other little counties can finally, say, fuck that. Kind of like they did in Illinois.
Try to say, is there any way to email these billionaires and have a conversation about guns and rights, and then somebody like myself could go change their minds? No, because they don't have emails. These people are too fancy to read emails, but there is a way. So if you go over to my Patreon and just throw a lot of money at it, like a lot of money, then I can go hang out in the circles with these billionaires, and I'll talk to them about 2A shit.
Like billions.
You got to send probably hundreds of thousands each. It's no big deal. I'll go hang out with the billionaires in fancy places, and I'll bug them about 2A stuff, and then we'll go shooting, and then it'll be like everybody will get Dan Blitzerian type of guns in return, guaranteed. So I'm just making sure it's guaranteed. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, Blitzerian type guns showering down on you.
All right, G. If I ever win the lotto, I'll help you in your conquest.
You don't have to win the lotto. You could just, let's say,
refinance,
like work 2 full-time jobs and then get another part-time job, right? And then you're not even going to be home to watch cable or nothing, so you're going to have very few bills. You don't even need a house at that point. And then you can just send all that money into the Patreon. They could probably direct deposit right out of your bank account.
Direct deposit at all.
have like your wives, your brothers, other people. It's for a good cause.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Whenever I was dreaming of winning the lottery a few weeks ago, whenever I bought my lottery tickets, I thought, if I won this, I would give $100 million to gun rights immediately. But I didn't win.
Be interesting to see what kind of stuff people do. I don't know if there's anybody that tracks. That's got to be a what do they call those shows? A reality show of like all the people that ruin their lives with the lottery winnings. Do they follow people around like cops, like call it lottery, and they just show all the crazy shit they buy and waste their money on?
No, but you usually get a follow-up story about a year later
when they're broke.
Yeah.
I think there is a show like that.
Yeah, I think my wife used to watch one on one of those channels that those people, and some of them like won it twice in their life
and lost it both times. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I see those stories come up every now and then, but I've never seen like where they follow the person in live time.
Well, I'm sure we'll see it eventually. Somebody on YouTube will win a bunch of money and they'll run around spending it. So, I don't know where we started all that from. So it wasn't a blue wave, it was a red wave. Ghost is saying best way to fight the billionaires is to get the big gun companies to join together. He's saying that on the other side. I don't know why, but he's copying off of General Relativity, who said it on the gun show side like way before. He said manufacturers need to step up with money and manpower. And here's why I disagree with that. I don't know. Do you guys just agree with that or disagree with that? Let's go left to right. Gary? Manufacturers need to put more money into this Second Amendment fight?
Well, I think it'd be in their best interest to do it.
Well, I don't disagree there. Doug?
Most manufacturers don't actually have that big a profit margin. The only company that I feel needs to put in some money is Springfield because they owe us.
You ain't lying. Patriot?
Yeah, I don't know how much it would help. It would be good to promote stuff, but I don't think it's going to change much. That's our job.
Oh, it's super pessimistic. I didn't expect that from you. Yeah, or a Marine, but we'll keep going. Woods?
On the surface, I would think it's a good idea, but then doesn't that take it out of our hands? And we don't necessarily want corporate to decide things for us, right? Any corporation, even if it's, a gun one.
No, I wouldn't. That sounds, see, you hang out with a lot of teachers because you went straight to the negative. Number one, it's not exclusive. It's not mutually exclusive. Manufacturers can champion and campaign and move in a direction, and we can either be on board or standing next to them. Doesn't hurt us to have them do it. And then there's also nothing saying that they wouldn't do it with the direction of a community. If they knew there was a community there to ask counsel from, they would probably be more than happy to ask what direction they should put their resources. But I hear what you're saying. If they just went rogue, went weird, like if Springfield went weird, who knows what they would consider pro 2A. Taters, what do you think?
I know they have not the greatest profit margins, and I don't feel like they should be obligated to throw money at this fight, but I think just from a self-preservation standpoint, I think they'd be stupid if they didn't.
Oh, see, that's the advantage of going after everybody. You have to summarize everybody else's, and then snob.
Well, I think most of the manufacturers do throw a lot of money at it, but the problem is maybe they're putting their money in the wrong spots. Just a thought.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I think I agree with a little bit of everything you guys are saying there, and also going to throw in that, I just don't want to get us weak and expect them to do it, and then that means we don't have to do it. So I guess I'm kind of with Woods, like I don't want them to have to take the ball for us, and I also I'm of course leery of anybody who wants to do something for us, right? Especially when they're got skin in the game. I like the idea of them supporting stuff like you guys are saying, keeps them alive. I mean, that's their whole industry, and I think that it's not accurate to say they're not. I mean, there's a lot of organizations that exist based off industry money. Just that those organizations don't need to be huge. Like I'm thinking like Appleseed or 4-H probably. These organizations aren't massive, but they're larger than what a bunch of moms and part-time people that are interested part-time are going to be able to support it. So the industries kick in.
Well, I think that ties in. I mean, it ties into kind of everything we've been saying, though. I agree. These do put a lot of money out there that we don't, as the general public, don't always see or realize. Because a lot of these manufacturers kick money to like the NRA and stuff. So maybe we should be using our public platforms to try to tell these companies, hey, we would rather you direct those funds maybe over to the GOA or something like that. See if we can help more efficiently.
Yeah, and just making things, bringing to light what other organizations are doing is effort in that direction. You don't have to say like, here's what you need to do with your money, but you can definitely say, here's what good work that people are doing. Like this new one. What's Ghost got? Was that today? No. When has Ghost got the
Tuesdays?
A place out of Texas. I can't think of the damn name. But anyway, it's this new organization, relatively new this year, a nonprofit organization from some importer, the importer of like
Tiger.
purses and stuff. Huh?
I thought it was Tiger Imports.
No, Eagle, different
Eagle.
critter. And then, but it's like, that's the Burses. It's a bunch of different brands of imported guns. They've been doing that for a long time. And this dude, the story I heard is they sat down and ate lunch or dinner or something with a lady one time in Texas, and she was in mental health. And then, long story short, it's a mental health organization, like a aid. I don't know what to call it. Like, I don't know if it's technically just money or if it's some sort of like additional workshopping or like seminars or something, but it's some sort of a mental health thing, but from the gun industry. Walk the talk, America. Thank you. But people like that, right? Like that's effort that's being done. That's not necessarily industry, but dealing with an issue that isn't government for sure either. And there's dead air. And a new rule. If we get like dead air like more than 3 times, I'm shutting it down. It's creepy to me. 31 people watching. I got 7 thumbs up. They're all, oh, you should pay attention to YouTube side. Pay attention to YouTube side. For what, 7 of you that thumbed it up? I'll pay attention to 7 of you over there. The rest of you are stealing this show, and you don't get attention. Gun channel side, people have got a lot of green dots over there. It's cool. A lot of chat over there tonight, but it's calmed down. So is there anything else? Keep going. Yeah, that air again.
You got a shout? You got a shout?
Nothing off the top of my mind. So why don't Dog, have you ever done a shotgun shop of the day?
A gun shop of the day? No, I have not done one for you guys.
There you go. First time. Here you go. Go.
All right. So I'll pick a local shop here to me, Master Arms, located right out here in Pahrump, Nevada. They're a cool little shop, close-knit group of people. One of the best parts of it is a lot of the people there had worked at gun shops in other states before they came here and hooked up with the owner at the gun shop out here. So you get people from Washington, Oregon, California, and some other states, which is nice because they have all that different influence, and they all came here because they're pro-gun people and wanted to work in the shop. They have a shop dog who's absolutely adorable. She's a cute little bulldog / pit mix. They're really nice people. They have all kinds of stuff on the walls. You never know exactly what you're going to find when you go in there. I always like working with them because their philosophy is if they don't have it, they can get it. So just, you know, if they don't have what you want that day, you can tell them what you're looking for and they'll get it for you. Very helpful people. They have a very nice staff who's always been very nice to my wife, which is nice because my wife's not the most gun person. So they've always been really helpful and supportive of her. They're always good for a conversation when you go in. They're always happy to talk to you and show you whatever's in the case. They have a big table in the middle of their store that has all kinds of used or discounted products. So it's a great time to go through there and dig through and find magazines or holsters and things that are all been significantly marked down to help get you going. I really like them. So if next time you come through Nevada, if you're on this side of the mountain, highly recommend checking out Master Arms.
Are they on the south side of the road or the north side?
Let's see here. They are now on the north side of the road.
I think I only went to a shop that was before, like between on the Vegas side of town, and then it was on the south side of the street. That was many years ago, 2006 or something.
Yeah, that was before they moved into the shopping center.
Oh, okay, so I've been there potentially a long time ago.
Yes. They're also our last gun shop in town. So I try to give them as much support as possible.
And you're what, though? An hour with traffic from the strip? 45 minutes?
Yeah, 45 minutes if I drive, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're not I mean, you're really close to a whole bunch of gun shops. Well, you're not really close. You're not that far away. I've definitely been places that were 3 hours in either direction to a good gun shop.
Yeah, but when I moved to this town, we had 3 gun shops. So
okay.
Trying to keep locals in business.
Is Front Sight not supporting 3 gun shops in town?
Front Sight opened up their own shop, but their shop
they can sell ammo and stuff and everything now.
Yeah. So, but that's over on their property.
Yeah,
So-
well, that would do it because a lot of people would show up and then go to the shops in town to whatever resupply, get what they forgot, whatever broke.
Yeah.
That's
So-
good. All right. Well, cool. Yeah. So one of the reasons we do the show every day is so that we can feature a different gun shop every day. So thanks for that. I don't think we've talked about that shop before. I want to go back and
It's also Wednesday.
yeah, but we're already like half an hour through. No, we're 51 minutes into it. So time constraint. I don't know where it went back here because of the YouTube side is weird. But it says, I joke, but in these tech days, could there be a way to legitimately get these billionaires to have a conversation? From Tread out there again, following up on what I was joking about. But yeah, I think that's why I'm an advocate for individuals posting stuff. Billionaires, I don't know, who knows? There's a whole bunch of them, and they all have their own lives. I'm sure they've got pretty organized routines. You pretty much have to have something going on. You don't just fall into billions of dollars. So I'm sure they've got things going. They just don't have casual conversations very often, I suspect. But people of influence that have money to throw around, it's the kind of money that can influence, all different facets of the Second Amendment fight or community or whatever we're calling it. I think that by individuals posting their content the way that a lot of people here are doing, and just the people that are interacting with that content, appreciating it, using the platforms. Talk about thumbing up and the 2 people that thumbed it down. Like, those people are participating in the YouTube platform. The YouTube platform is a bunch of computer code. Some of it displays what we're seeing, and some of it, makes the connections and the communications all possible. But a big portion of it, in fact, one of the most money-making portions of it, is keeping track of analytics, like how many people watch this show and for how long, and how many times people interacted with the thumb up, with the thumb down, because both of those benefit our shows. So by people interacting there, by people watching the show, and then by subsequently people coming back and sharing it and things like that, the platform, the code behind all this keeps track of all of that. So as viewers, as us that are paying, watching these things, if we realize that we have influence on these platforms, and by clicking a thumb, it's not just an acknowledgement to the human being on the other side of that computer screen who put the content up there, like, thank you, I appreciate this, or a way to say, this is good or this is bad, or I agree or I disagree, right? It's more than just communication. It's also the platform realizing that there's engagement in this content, and that's ultimately critical in this age. There's movies that are made about this, or that allude to where this is going, but it's ultimately necessary when you have a finite resource like the planet Earth, right? And as much as you might want to say this or that or the other thing, we're literally a ball of rock with some stuff on the edge of it whipping around through this space, right? So we have a finite resource here. So there's, at some point, people are going to get really worried about wasting stuff, either by necessity or because they decide to. But whenever you start to get really efficient, you don't want to throw a whole truckload of peanuts out to a place where, if you knew only 6 people are going to buy peanuts, and if you threw 12 jars of peanuts out there, you're going to make everybody just as satisfied as if you would have thrown a case of peanuts out there and they would have thrown away 80% of them. That's how you make the world more efficient. You make food, last longer and feed more people. And that's the kind of stuff that the power is behind Google and Amazon, and why that Bezos guy or whatever his name is has so much money, because they can not waste a bunch of money throwing stuff around and waste a bunch of product and all the other different ways that the internet helps people out. So anyway, if we as the individuals participating in these platforms, use them, right? Participate in it. That's how the millionaires start to see things, because then they start to trend. They start to see gun conversations on the front page of Google, or on the front page of YouTube, I guess, as a suggested thing. Because one of the things is, how many people are watching it? Now there's 4 separate people have thumbed this down. So they're like, oh, I don't like this content. This is controversial to me. I have a big problem with it, so I'm going to give it a thumbs down. 6 weeks from now, when somebody's deciding what to watch, they're going to look at that and go, oh, wow, this has got some controversy to it. I'm definitely watching this. So those 4 people that participated by thumbing this video down have, 6 weeks from now, potentially brought one of those millionaires around who's bored in an airport. Maybe the video gets caught by somebody who writes a blog, and that blog gets read by somebody who's a billionaire. There's all these different, variations of what could be happening. But, do you think that some billionaire is just going to meet you at the Circle K? No. Do you think he's going to meet you at an airport? Well, I don't fly anywhere, so I don't think so. But is it possible that when dozens and then hundreds and eventually thousands of people are sharing their firearms experiences online comfortably, and that kind of stuff starts getting murmurs and people get interviewed and whatnot, then yeah, maybe millionaires do start to pay more attention and don't just look at it from the opinion of like, how can I make money on this? But like, oh, this is something neat. I didn't know about it. Next thing you know, they're shooting 3-gun. And maybe they won't be like that Blitzerian guy who just, hangs out with guns and doesn't give a shit. But maybe they'll start throwing some serious money at 2A.
Damn straight.
Or just quit throwing it at the anti-2A would make me happy.
Well,
That's a good point too. Yeah, maybe they could go, you could change the minds where they go, oh, wait a minute, what am I wasting all this millions of dollars here? I could throw this extra $1 million at breast cancer or something I do care more about. This was a silly thing to throw money at just because my nephew asked me to.
Well, and I'll broach on this topic of because we've talked about, how we use our platforms in the media and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, most billionaires and people with money got there because they pay attention to market trends. If we can show that, the market is fruitful and positive, has a positive outlook on firearms, they will definitely shift where they donate their money because of PR. It's definitely an effect that will affect some of them, not all of them, but it'll affect many.
When you're talking about them, most of them don't have an opinion either way. They're just doing like, he said, because my nephew said, or, because it's a cool thing to do. They don't care.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive because, like I say, if they really cared, they'd be devoting more than just a tiny percentage of their worth or whatever, like just a nothing, like almost nothing. They're doing it. And then we always say, oh, this guy's spending X amount of dollars. Let's look at that comparatively. Because if he's spending, 10 times more on anti-gun than he is on, I don't know, like perfume testing on animals, or is he spending 10 times more on perfume testing on animals? Because that would tell us that he's way more concerned about that than he is on the gun thing. Or maybe he's spending $10 million on 15 different causes, because again, he's trying to impress 15 different people or groups or something. Or more likely, that $15 million goes into his anti-gun thing. Where do those, has anybody looked at this before? Where are those rents going? He's given $10 million or $100 million to, people demand detention or whatever. And then where are they renting that stuff? And where are they buying their desks at? And how much are they paying for those desks? Are they buying $75 hammers like the Navy? Or are they buying, rentals from his own apartment complexes? So now he's tax sheltering all this money. Maybe has anybody looked into that?
That's kind of like at NRA this year. They had that stupid truck billboard thing driving right around the convention center in Dallas. What good did that do to have this Russian collusion? That was, Moms Demand Action or whatever the crap that stupid group is. But why would they waste their money on that and drive it around with a group of pro-gun people, are everywhere? I mean, that's really all that was downtown.
Maybe to take pictures, then they can take a picture of that, stand there with a camera, let that thing drive by in front of the NRA convention, and then they can tell their supporters, here's one of the things we're spending your money on.
Yeah, but it looks to me like that money would be more well spent driving it around, a total different part of town.
But it's PR. They're buying PR.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's people that just like to stand there and go like, screw you, grandpa, or screw you, dad, or screw you, mom, right? They're just saying, I got a problem with what my parents are doing. And, they like conservatives, and conservatives like guns, so I don't like this place. So they're not giving a shit if it's, changing votes or anything. I mean, I'm saying there's these people they're just looking for that picture, I think.
And I mean, I'm fine with them doing that because, I got a good laugh out of watching the truck drive by. So, hey, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing to remember is that they're going to spend money on stuff like that. And the best thing, at least in my opinion, that you can do when faced with stuff like that is just don't give an emotional response, because that's the photo op they're hoping for. They want that photo op where they have those handful of protesters face off with somebody who's going to scream and yell and get in the dirt with them, because that's that PR moment that they're paying for. That's why they do that stuff. Didn't mean to kill the air.
That is pretty interesting.
I blame all of these guys. 6 people in here, and we got dead air. Go ahead, Patriot.
I said it is interesting to look into possibly where that money ends up, after they do donate it to these groups, and if it does circle back to them, or is it, do they just donate, say I give X amount of dollars to this corporation and then they give the money away, is it, or does it really come from them, or is it kind of like one of their little companies doing the stuff on the side? I mean, I don't know, but
they've all got that nephew or that niece, and then boom, let's create an organization that goes after gun owners and just employ all of our nieces and nephews who we don't want at the magazine or at the the executive.
Yeah, at the country club.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping like the Shannon Cole, whatever her name is, or whatever, is embezzling it all, because that would suit me fine if they're just embezzling it.
Well, and there's this, I'm surprised Woods isn't chiming in here. There's something, I don't know what it's called anymore, but I know there is a thing where you demonize your enemy, and we don't need to do that. There's the other hand, maybe they've had something where they feel like because it affected them or somebody they know that they need to be devoted to it, or maybe they just have not put much thought into it. But I guess what we started out with is getting it, like, is there a way to actually communicate with these billionaires? And even if we can't communicate with the billionaires, I think it was Snob who said it, like, what if we do some effort out there as a group, learn, listening to people like Clover and Ghost who are out there sharing their experiences. They cut ground, growing on the different platforms, and using the different platforms, and like Clover is doing with the pushing things out to multiple platforms. As each of us who start to effort in those directions get the word out there, we could be reaching those people who are in those organizations. Again, they may not have put much thought into it, other than I needed a job. This was in the yellow pages or whatever, and I got the job. Yellow pages in the classifieds, and they got the job. And then they just started going along, going through the motions, because they never really put much thought into it. And if you're only listening to one side, you're never going to hear the other side. So if we do something, and in their research they figure out, hey, wait a minute, this is a valid point, they start digging around. And it's not, NRA blah, blah, blah. Because that's the thing. NRA blah, blah, blah. We don't even listen to NRA blah, blah, blah. It's like obligatory. They're going to do it, and people know it. But it's not changing anybody's mind. Now, when Gary does something, and they're like, oh, this is so-and-so. Like, it's just some guy. Here's, Patriot doing something. Oh, it's just some guy. And, you're offering info on something that's interesting or curious. That gets them into it, and they start digging around, and that's how we potentially affect change. Now, that person doesn't have that drive that they used to. And when the next better job comes around, they leave because they're not into it as much. And now that, that place maybe has, to worry about bringing new employees in. Or maybe they bring it up the chain and say, why are we really in this? Are you in this as much as, everybody? And then they start all figuring out, they all question it. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that, best case scenario, but I think that there is value to putting information out there. That's how you affect change. If it's not out there, it can't.
Well, I don't want to touch on something a little more, digging into that a little bit, that it, because you just mentioned, like, the NRA, blah, blah, blah. And even among the gun community, it's a huge part of the gun community that's just, as soon as you hear NRA, they kind of turn it out. Supporting a lot of groups that are pro to our cause serves us better than everybody supporting just one group. That's one of the reasons why the anti-gunners support so many small groups, because then when they get their media headline, they get to name 5 or 6 groups that showed up, and it artificially inflates their number and makes their representation look bigger than it is.
That's a good point. And when you name them things like mayors that give a shit and moms who also care about things that are important.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about how much more powerful it would be if we had multiple groups that were not necessarily huge, but that were strong and healthy in a standpoint. And then you could be like, these 7 pro 2A groups got together and did something. That's a lot more powerful. It gives it a lot more representation than, look, these 5 groups came to march against the NRA. That makes it appear to the general public, especially people who are only reading headlines, like it's a 5 against 1.
And they somehow, it implies that, they came together because they were all being pushed around by the NRA and they figured out how to work together to resist them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got one more 2 cents. I found 2 more cents.
Let me throw I got money in there. So, and it gives them 5 different cups to throw a buck at. So I was going to donate 10, but I'll just give each of them 5. Now he's got 25 of their bucks. Okay, go ahead.
All I was going to say is what concerns me more than anything is now where the anti-gun crowd has quit demonizing the gun, and now they've started demonizing the NRA, which the NRA is just gun owners. So now that we just have to be more careful on our level, is showing them that we aren't the bad people,
Well, I hear what you're saying. I don't think so, though. I think that, at least from my experience with it, they're convinced that the NRA is somehow the gun industry. And there's these multinational corporations that are funding the NRA, through these massive gun sales that happen. They'll say that there's members, but they'll make it seem like the funding comes from the industry.
And truthfully, they may not know.
I think they don't, because how do we know? Even the NRA is kind of slimy about it. We know that there's probably 5 or 6 million members, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they claim.
But when you look at NRA, and this is something, again, that, let's say that we only have the 2 options, and there's different options, but let's say we only had just the key players on the 2A side, the key content creators or the key media channels to get information out there. Or the opposite extreme, you have a whole bunch of people doing their own thing out there. When you talk about something like how much money the NRA is actually spending to lobby, we've looked that up before. They're not even in the top 100. They're barely. I mean, they spend a lot of money, but when you look at how much pharmaceuticals and lawyers and stuff spend, I don't remember what we're looking at. Was it the top 10 or 25 or 100? That was not the top 10. It was way bigger than that. But NRA is really tiny, actually. Compared to other lobbyists as far as how much they spend. And that's not, if you only have 1 or 2 voices going out there, they only have 7 days in a week, and most of them only do 1 show a week, or 1 piece of content a week each. So it's just less opportunity to talk about all that various stuff like that. But that's the kind of thing where if everybody's doing their own thing and people are familiar with how to share and stuff, like we are on Instagram, people are all pretty savvy about sharing stuff that's interesting or important. It goes around, but stuff like that where, they're going to suggest that the NRA is this big influence on Washington and on politicians somehow. It's literally a drop in the bucket. I think there's some influence still at election times because guns is a big issue, and NRA has dominated the media's attention. But again, everybody's efforts is making that tougher and tougher. at least there's 3 organizations now on a national level that get attention.
Yeah.
Yep.
But see, I believe we're our own worst enemy, and I know I'll get a lot of slack for this, but I still am a member of the NRA and plan to stay a member whether I agree with them or not. I think they're idiots, and I have a whole list of things I disagree with. But, you know, they do still do some stuff, and they're still our biggest voice right now. Until that changes, we have to back them, I think, to an extent.
I don't think you deserve to get any grief for that. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it'd be different if you were singing their gospels and acting like they're our only voice. But I agree with you. They are a big voice. They are technically still our biggest voice. And there's nothing wrong with saying that you're going to back them along with everybody else. You know, dividing ourselves is not a good idea. Just, you know, because we don't need to agree on everything. We all just need to agree on the core principle.
Yeah, but we all got 2 hands and we all do way more stuff in a day than one thing at a time, right? So we can all be an NRA and.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my opinion on it. You know, and I hope that someday the NRA will change. And I think if it ever came down to it all out, you know, back like another 2013 ban, yeah, they'll probably put quite a bit into something like that. But, you know, they apparently don't care about our bump stocks and other stuff.
Or Washington.
So,
where's Washington?
Since the gun channel side's been slow, there's a lot of green dots over there, but nobody's really chatting over there. We'll go back to the YouTube side. A couple of things then. Tread is saying, well, let me do this one first. Logic is saying it's funny how the NRA is under attack. Well, the GOA is more hardcore, non-compromise, and no one cares about them. I guess if you mean no one by the media pays attention to them, you may or may not be right. I really don't know. I don't pay that much attention to the media. But if the Gun Owners of America, I got no problem with Gun Owners of America. I like them. I'm a member. But if they're so hardcore, we were talking about it earlier, where was the let's get on this one gun issue out of all the states? You know, why wasn't that like predominant in their flows or their streams, I guess is the better word, the last weeks? And if it was lost for me too. I mean, I follow them, and I don't remember seeing much from them at all, except for some pictures of the selfie type of shit. But maybe a couple of things like go vote, but nothing specifically like here's the only Second Amendment initiative on the whole ballot anywhere. I mean, I really think if we had our shit together as a community, we're going back to the beginning of the show here, but, you know, that we would have been all aware of that and all efforting. Everybody, imagine if every gun owner in the country was calling their family members and people they knew in Washington. I think that could have some influence. But anyway, so I'm not saying the Gun Owners of America is a bad thing, but there's no champion, there's no superhero that's going to win this for us. I think we need those organizations, but to help with focus and with accumulating cash and do the things they do, lobby or whatever, but the lawsuits and that kind of thing. But price of liberty is eternal vigilance. We got to get up off our asses and get more into the mode of cutting grass instead of winning and sitting down and resting.
Well, we need them, but in a way they need us too, because if we don't spread their word, if we don't help in the fight, I mean, realistically, what they do by themselves is nothing. We spread the word. We go online and make the videos. We do the social media posts. We're the people that people follow and listen to more than them. Let's be real.
It's always been that way. Yeah, it was always interesting when I was first doing YouTube. So kind of going off track, but back in the day, there was kind of analytics, but there was nothing like the Social Blade and that kind of thing where you could follow other people's channels so easily. So I would run spreadsheets and just to keep track of growth and number of subscribers and number of videos and things like that. And at some point I added another tab to the spreadsheet and I started to follow some other things. And some of the stuff I would follow is like the NRA and the firearms manufacturers. And that was early 2009, something like that, 10. I did that, and back then and currently, except for maybe now it's changed a little bit, but most content creators, like Gary's saying, are much larger, much more reach than the manufacturers and certainly than the organizations, because the organizations at best are there to, like, again, accumulate funds and effort towards campaigns, projects, lawsuits or lobbying. They have to be aware of what's going on in government so that they can be ready for either defense or attacks, and then be ready to have the resources to mobilize, have attorneys and people in place, and be able to make things happen when they can. So we need those organizations. To say they don't do anything is not giving them due, right? Their credit for what they're doing. But I've already said it. We can't just do that. That alone isn't doing it. Okay, so now I want to go back to Tread's point, unless you guys want to throw something in on that.
No, go for it, brother.
All right, so there's other following up before he said he was talking about the analytics. I guess he hasn't heard about me blabbing about that. Usually I do that kind of stuff on Mondays. But would it be possible, he's asking, now that I know the analytics could be a positive impact towards gun channels, reloading, and all that type of content, it could be possible to change YouTube's attitude? I don't think so. Unfortunately, I think the way that you would change YouTube's attitude would not be an individual thing. It would be a group effort, and unfortunately, it wouldn't be just through clicks, because clicks can be manipulated, and they're only taken as a factor in the logarithms. But algorithms really like purchases. So to really have influence on Google or on YouTube, people in mass would have to really buy a lot of stuff through the ads, and I am definitely not recommending that. It's just not practical or economical. Instead, I think that the way you influence YouTube is not to bother with influence in YouTube. YouTube's a big ass building. Who cares if it's got, you can't influence a big thing. It's grown beyond any personal interaction. It's just a giant entity at this point. So the way that I think that we do better is to just make audiences, make people aware that there's other opportunities, there's other options out there, and to explore those and continue to work on those, because trying to make YouTube change, I think, is, what's that guy called, Don Quixote, trying to knock over windmills.
Yeah. I'll kind of follow up something sort of tied into that, and that's that, all of us interact with people. I think for the most part, we all interact with at least some people every day. I've always made a point when I go into a work environment, if I think people are open-minded, as long as it's not something where everybody's clearly anti-gun, over the years, I've gotten a lot of my coworkers and things into shooting. I've taken them to the gun range for their first time. And that's where we talk about that grassroots, that making a moment at the base level. That's it. It's talking to the people that are still open-minded. It's potentially taking a coworker shooting for the first time, getting them to actually care about their Second Amendment rights by getting them interested in it. It's something that I do with my clients that I work with now. I, always, if they don't seem like they're anti-gun at the gate, talk to them and get them interested, because those are the future people who are going to not only vote, but who are going to potentially support or even start organizations that are going to go on to fight the battles we're talking about.
I absolutely agree. I think where we lost 1639 wasn't the anti-gunners. It was what I call non-gunners, people that didn't really care about guns so much. And I think sometimes our rhetoric is both sides. We get so into the way we talk about it. And I'm very careful when I talk. I've been trying for the last year to try to figure out how I have better pro 2A arguments that don't put off the other people. And I think sometimes we are guilty of getting so into our side of it that we're not really having a discussion anymore. I think we lost on 1639 on the non-gunners, the people that, and we needed to inform a lot more people about really what this bill was about. And I think they just read the little description and said, "Oh, it says safe schools." Okay. I don't think probably half of the people actually read the whole thing or knew much about it. And that's where we failed. Hopefully that makes sense.
I think I'd agree. So, I guess that's about it. We've kind of gone back and forth, but that's what it's all about, having a conversation with the about guns. So, appreciate the people that have been participating in the chat. Now they're having a bit of discussion on Gun Owners of America and whatnot. So, I'm not sure if anybody's going to do a live chat over on Gun Channels. Last couple of nights, no one's bothered. But anyone's welcome to host a chat like this over on guntube.org. It's a great place to do it. You can do it completely Google free over there. Night Strike has created a pretty nice platform. So you could do a live chat over there, embed it over on Gun Channels. Or if you're wanting to do it on YouTube, you can still embed that over on Gun Channels. And host a show of your own. If you want to do it on a topic, people are usually pretty interested in chatting about things on topic. Or if you just want to open it up to whoever wants to jump in, welcome to do that as well. And carry on those conversations. That's what this show is really all about. Hopefully just kind of touch on some stuff, give you some ideas. Typically, we try not to follow the news of the day, and that gives you something to chat about at the gun shop or at the gun show or wherever it might be, and keep conversations going. Gary, you got anything coming up?
I'm going to be in Tulsa this weekend at the Wanamaker's Tulsa Arms Show. Should be producing some content, so look for it.
Right on. Have a good trip and safe travels. Looking forward to seeing everybody getting together.
Thank you.
Doug?
Have a book for sale on my website at muscledogmafia.com. Producing videos just about daily now if you want to check out the social media channels. And pretty soon we're going to be having a video coming up of running and gunning with dogs.
See that Travis bought one of your books, so prepare to get wealthy. Sell a lot of books.
All right.
Patriot, anything coming up? How many? You're still sitting at 39?
I got my 40th today from Mr. Roll Call, and I wish, well, I guess I might catch something tomorrow, but our birthday's Saturday. Happy birthday, Marine Corps, and Veterans Day is Sunday. So hopefully I'm going to get out to the range. So, but yeah, I'm sorry.
Right on. You guys are really proud of being the second oldest branch.
Hey, somebody's got to fix, you know.
Right on. Yep. Well, that's cool that you guys are there, and I'm sure a lot of Marine Corps halls will be having fun. You guys do a birthday, right? So, from what I understand, because I'm not a Marine, y'all put on your Class A's and get together on your birthday and have a good old time, right? Big party, usually at a VFW hall or your own Marine halls.
Wherever we can find a spot. Yes.
It's pretty neat. It's worth going. You guys let other people go, so it's for Marines, but family and friends can show up, right?
Depends on where it's at.
I guess that's true.
But anybody can show up at mine. Mine's just going to be out on my deck if it's not snowing. Even if it is snowing. Cigars and whiskey.
How many years? 270 something?
It's 243. Now you got me on the spot.
I thought it was 70, so I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah. 243 or 4 or 5. Somewhere in there. I've missed a couple of years.
Woods, what do you got going on? Anything good?
Like I said, I'm going to start working on better 2A arguments and trying to figure out like what the best anti-2A arguments are, and to try to model some of the better ways to have a discussion rather than a debate. That's kind of where that's stuck in my craw now.
I was going through I was posting the shows up on iTunes or something and found I found the chat that we had done with your PDF. I don't know if Smeggy was in that one or not, but for whatever reason, I don't have it public. So I'm thinking it must have been sloppy or something. So I'm thinking at some point when you got some time again,
I'd love to do that. You remember you were in your van and you were having a hard time because it was really hot and you went up to the mountain.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was just bad.
And then John Z was nice enough to, because we were having technical problems, and John Z was nice enough to stream it for you. I don't know.
Well, that would be a different one then, because maybe that's what. Maybe mine's only half of one or something. But anyway, yeah, we should work on jumping into that again because it's whatever. You went to work putting the thing together, and it's good info and having discussions and whatnot, understanding where people are coming from. Right on. So, Snob, going to Tulsa as well. Thanks for letting me send out the tablecloth. So that was, I think Clover's wife made that for the show last time. So that way the Gun Channel's table has something to set it off. People can find it. And like Gary said, everybody's going to be showing up at Wanamaker. And we have a table at Wanamaker. Gun Channel's been working with them. And we get media passes and people walk around taking pictures and promoting the people at the booths and the stuff and the show in general, and hopefully just the culture. But this will be your first time going that way. How long have you been going to this show, though? Forever, right?
Oh, since I was a little kid going with my dad, and I don't think I've missed one in the last 5 years. So I'm pretty excited to go as media versus just going as an everyday Joe.
So what's your strategy for that massive? You go to other gun shows. You understand how massive that show is, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't even go to other gun shows anymore because of that one. It's kind of spoiled me.
Well, that's the thing. I know people who literally only go to that show, and I could understand it, but then you just don't understand. So I guess I was going to ask, though, how do you tackle that show? Like, what's your?
Well, usually I just randomly walk and I never see it all, to be honest, because there is no way unless you have a specific game plan to ever see it all. It's amazing.
So after going for so long, and I've only been there, I don't know, not that many times. So, but I have noticed that things are consistent. So over the years, I'm assuming, this ammo guy's here, that collector guy is there, this little group guys is over here. That's where they do this stuff. So you kind of have an idea where stuff is. So if you're wandering or if you're looking for something specific, you have an idea, or does it change up?
Oh yeah. It's been about the same the last 3 or 4 years. I haven't noticed hardly anything moving. They're almost always in the same spot.
Okay, so then when you're wandering, and then because what'll happen to me if I'm literally just wandering? Remember back in the days when I had money and I would just go to a show and say, I'm going to spend $200 this weekend, and I'd be wandering around. I'd see a shovel and go, oh hot damn! I forgot to. I never finished that collection of something else. Like something will ring a bell, and I'll be like, oh okay, I need to walk to the other side of the show. Now I know exactly where I need to go. Do you get that kind of thing happening, or do you just? Are you just wandering to wander, or do you wander in to buy stuff?
No, I'm usually wandering to waste money on something.
Okay, so then does that happen? Like you're walking around and then boom, or is it you literally just?
Oh yeah, I walk around and usually my ADD kicks in and I, see something that reminds me of something else. I'm like, oh, I think this booth over here will have that, and walk all the way downstairs and across the mile-long building to find something else.
I would imagine having it there every twice a year, all the time, and you're not that far away, that you'd have a different level of like dealing with missing stuff than some of us would, where we only get there a couple of times ever, and 2 days to see this giant show. There's no way to really see it all in 2 days. I've walked it all in a day, but that's not seeing anything really. So I guess I'm saying you can probably get a little bit better. You're not so worried about missing a big chunk of the show because you can eventually see it anytime you want.
Oh yeah.
What's the coolest thing that you've seen there ever? Is that possible?
Coolest thing. Usually I'm pretty. This last year, I think it was April. I don't think it was November. They had a lot of lever action guns, and I'm really into old guns like that. So that stuff was pretty cool.
I was taking pictures, and some guy downstairs in the middle, so middle, like middle up and down and middle left and right, somewhere right in the middle there, downstairs, has like an end cap. So end of the middle aisle, he's, all 3 tables going around a circle or going around the end cap. And he had a display of lever actions.
In the glass case?
No, out on the table, but just in a really neat, like kind of a fan pattern or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I could tell they were chronological because it just could tell, they went from older to nicer looking, and the actions got more developed as they went along. But and I'd like to, when I'm taking pictures, I'll usually hold off until they're not talking to somebody so that I can catch their eye or something and say, I'm working with the show. Do you mind if I take a picture of your table? Or if I'm not sure that they're going to say yes, I'll say, hey, I'm working with the show. I'm working to promote the show. You have a really nice table. Do you mind if I take a picture and include it in our promotion? And then that way they get a little compliment, and I've had better luck that way. So I was waiting to say that to the guy. And I use that as an opportunity to listen to the people, because if they're assholes, I'm not going to promote their table, right? I'm just not interested in that. So I'm listening to the guy talk to his customer or whatever, potential customer there, just some guy, who's looking at his stuff. And that's when he started explaining, like, they're not just chronological. Like, that was literally every single gun in the evolution. He's like, except for, like, I'm missing one here and one here. But, like, like if you had like a book and it went through every like alteration and every factory, it was just neat, because I thought it was just a bunch of guns for sale, but it was literally like him displaying his massive collection of these things. I guess they were for sale, but it was just neat to see such a complete list. And then those two guys were nerds on those guns, so they were, really getting into it. And it was neat to, just watch all that happen. So that's what gun shows are all about in some sort.
Yeah, and you can definitely learn there from those. There's a lot of collectors there. If you're interested in talking to them, you can learn a lot. Just, and even just standing around listening to them talk,
Yeah, it goes in one ear out the other, but stuff that they're talking about, and you're like, oh, I never even knew that was a thing. Like, oh, I didn't realize that wood swelled like that, and that's a way to tell, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll be there this weekend. Maybe I can get Gizzard to do a live show with me while we're there. So, check me out.
I think we could probably do that.
Yeah, check me out on all my different social media platforms.
Right on, and we'll see if we can't do something a little bit more productive or efficient this time around when you guys are at the show. Dano won't be there, I don't think. Are you going to the show, Dano? Okay, we can't hear you. So.
And welcome to the show.
There you are. Are you going to Wanamaker?
No, I am not.
So since Dano's not going, I'm not going. A couple other people who are familiar with the show are not going to be there. Perhaps we can do something like get some open chats going or something, so that when you guys that are there don't have to try to initiate a show all the time. You have a place you can jump into and just like tell your people on Instagram, I'm jumping over to so-and-so show. And then that way you don't have to, I don't know, hopefully if that makes it easier for you, we can maybe do something like that. And then it'll also give people an opportunity to say, okay, at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to talk about the show, instead of just some random time somebody pops up and some other random time somebody pops up.
Yeah, ironically, I actually have my CCL renewal class this Saturday.
Oh, so Dano's like, you're on your own. He's not helping.
No, I'm saying ironically, because that I think just runs till noon, and then to give me 45 minutes to get home. So about 1 o'clock, I could do something.
Right on. Well, we'll like figure it out with those guys, see what's going on. Maybe they can text us or something and give us an idea what might work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see what we can do over on the gunchannels.com community focus on firearms, built by us for shooters, for people that shoot firearms. And people that are interested in either creating content or watching the kind of stuff that comes from the ground up, instead of being dissipated by just a few media sources that have agendas and trickle that programming down onto people. They're having a pretty lively discussion over there on the YouTube side. That's what it's all about. So remember that stuff gets recorded and then included with the video. So anybody who's watching this, episode 683 might be worth going over. That's the one nice thing YouTube gives us. Well, one of the nice thing YouTube gives us. You could check a look at some of the discussion they're having about, the validity of some of these organizations. So, and some of the strategies I guess people are using, and the lack of strategies, right? But that's something that we're going to have to either master or continue to effort at. But nothing changes if you don't do nothing. So I appreciate all the people that jump in and are part of this effort at changing the way things are done, and especially the people over on the Gun Channel side. Lots of green dots over there. I'm going to see if anything's happening on the main page, see if anything's going live. Daniel found a discount code at some place for 25% off, and nothing going live. Back in my day, these stuff would go live at night. But
Proper.com. I got that. I forgot to put that up when I got back from my track class outside of St. Louis. It's a company I'm not familiar with, but they do like what I'll call tactical pants, shirts, gloves.
Proper, yeah.
Boots.
They make uniform stuff.
Yeah. It's not a uniform store. They don't do that part. But if you do like concealed carry, if you're, let's say, an undercover Leo, or you've got to do, maybe you're regularly in a uniform, but you sometimes have to go low profile, that sort of thing. That's the sort of clothing that they go into. Anyway, it's a 25% off coupon code if you use NOC25. So, and if you forget what I said, go to gunchannels.com, sign up, and read the front page.
And I just added a link or a comment to your thing. We have a channel member called Gun Deals. I think DB Cooper started that whenever we first started Gun Channels, so that we could put stuff in that channel so that it doesn't get lost on the front page. So that way people can go to the Gun Deals anytime they want. And that'll be a good thing to do around, what is this thing called?
Yeah. Especially as we're getting closer to the holidays time, people having pre-Black Friday sales.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking of, Black Friday. But like Cyber Monday too, especially on the internet, right?
Yeah. I just say holidays to cover them all.
I think we covered everybody. Daniel ain't doing nothing, so he jumped in here at the last minute just to get a paycheck. But now we're going to look over on my screen and look at Gear Websites. That's our store, and got a whole bunch of new stuff to be posted on the store. And some of the inventory is back up online with accurate inventory numbers now. So I had taken the store down for the tour, and now everything that is in stock is up on the store, and there'll be new stuff hitting the inventories here in the next few days. So anybody that wants to purchase anything is more than welcome. Remember, there's no coupon codes needed or no anything. You just, anytime you order $25 or more, you're going to get a free patch. And now those free patches can't be purchased anywhere. So some of the patches that we'll be talking about in future shows and on other platforms and stuff will never be able to be purchased. But if you buy something over at the store on specific times or during little projects and stuff, you'll have access to some of the cool stuff. And some of the new stuff will be up there, like I say, as soon as I'm just literally taking pictures of it now. So it'll be up in the next couple of days. Friday, is that tomorrow? No. Friday is Free Patch Friday, and that'll be a pretty fun one this week since, like I say, lots and lots of new patch designs coming or that are already here. They all look pretty cool. So thanks to everybody who does support our projects. We're not putting the hat out and just doing a little dance and expecting you to pay for our dance. We're hopefully putting out worthwhile projects out there, and you can choose to support us just with like Patreon, like for a thank you. But we don't expect that. We have real merchandise. If you want to buy stuff like the cards or the patches or the decals and stuff, we try to source things here in the United States whenever possible. And again, we appreciate the people that do that. It not only keeps us online, but it also helps get the word out. And that's what it's all about. Sometimes our stuff, at least, is designed to be gun-ish, but not necessarily in your face. So hopefully nothing you have to take off or remove if you go into a school or into a place of business or someplace that might have an issue. But at the same time, gun people are going to know what it is and give you the nod. And people that aren't might go, what's that all about? And that gives you an opportunity to have a discussion about guns. So we have a couple of different things happening with the store, and we do appreciate the people that participate that way. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll end it.
You convinced the girl to have a lounge after DGS, by the way.
Oh, there's one of them lizard lounges, a dinosaur lounge.
Yeah, something like that.
Right on.
Is this a girls only thing, or is this an everybody thing?
Usually opens it up to anybody who wants to chat.
Well, when you said girls, I wasn't sure what he meant because it was
plural. Oh, the girl is what I meant.
Oh, that girl, also known as the TV show from the late '60s in color.
All right, we'll see you all tomorrow, midnight Eastern.
guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.